Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and sorry for the delay. A little bit of technical difficulty today, but we are here live and in person for you. By the way, happy St. Patrick's Day. Hard to believe it's March 17th, 2021. Where in the heck does the time go? Well, let's make it a great year. I'm John Yarrington, the CEO of the Performance Driven Marketing Institute, a 501c6 not-for-profit trade association dedicated to protecting, promoting, and advancing the direct-to-consumer and direct response advertising industries. And on behalf of the PDMI family, it's my pleasure to welcome you to yet another fun-filled and exciting episode of the PDMI Take 20. Now, as a reminder, the PDMI Take 20 is a roundtable discussion, quick hitting, led by industry experts talking about today's most trending topics, all done in 20 minutes or less. So, before we dive into today's Take 20, allow me to take a moment to do a little housekeeping. If you are part of the studio, if you're part of the live audience and you'd like to ask a question, we'd love to have you do so. In fact, we encourage you to ask questions. If you'd like to, simply use the questions tab located in the control panel. Please note one thing. You're welcome to ask questions throughout the entire discussion today. However, we will only be addressing the answers to your questions at the end of today's conversation. So with that said, please allow me to introduce to you today's moderator, the fearless Chris Foster, Vice President of New Business Development at Modern Postcard, a direct marketing agency located in Carlsbad, California. When Chris is not doing his day job, he is a teacher at the UCSD Extension Courses brand strategies, and he also happens to be a fabulous chairperson of the PDMI's Brand Response Council. Chris does moderating of this Take 20 every other Wednesday, and he does a fantastic job. Great to have you back with us, Chris. Thanks for all you do, and take it away, my friend.
Thanks, John. Really appreciate that introduction. Thanks and welcome in everybody, and to those of Irish descent, happy St. Patrick's Day. Today's topic is e-commerce for 2021 and beyond. So it's been about a year, right? About a year ago this time, especially in California, small businesses and restaurants across the country, especially here, physically closed their locations. And many of them scrambled to prevent their business from going under by shifting to e-commerce and or leaning into their current e-commerce presence. In fact, one of our own customers was selling directly to resorts, absolutely had to pivot and start selling direct to consumer in terms of their resort wear. And there are lots of tools that made that possible for that customer. One of those tools, Shopify, experienced unprecedented growth last year, with Q3 of 2020 showing an astonishing 96% increase over Q3 in 2019. Man, raise your hand if you want 96% growth year over year. So now we're heading into 2021 and beyond, and there seems to be no slowing down or major sea change when it comes to people wanting to shop online. And e-commerce might be poised to become the dominant retail venue in the upcoming years. Now, especially with Generation Z, who will be the largest consumer group in 5 years and who predominantly shop online, I think this trend is going to continue, if not accelerate. So the question is, what are the key pillars of e-commerce growth going to be? Besides the known platforms of Shopify and Stripe and others, what are some other tools that are emerging that are a must-have for the e-commerce business? And there's no better person to answer those questions or to have this discussion than my guest today, Phil Gorman. He is CEO and founder of E-commerce Day, and he's the guy who has his fingers on the pulse of the entire ecosystem. So Phil, we're honored to have you. We're so grateful that you can take the time. And let's dive in, and I'll just throw a quick softball question at you. Do you think e-commerce will be as red hot in 2021 as it was last year?
That's a great question, Chris. Hey, hello everybody. Thanks for having me today. I'm Phil Gorman of E-commerce Day. So to answer your question, Chris, maybe not as red hot, but still pretty hot in 2021. You know, there are just some aspects of consumer behavior that'll just never be the same again, and they've been ingrained in folks over the last 12 months, as you pointed out, and I think they're here to stay.
Well, and one stat I did notice is that 30% of online shoppers this past year were first-time online shoppers, right? And so what you have is probably an older generation who might not be comfortable with it, experiencing the comfort and experiencing the ease, right? The know and the like and the trust of moving into the e-commerce space and making new habits. And so one of the things that businesses have to do is they constantly have to respond to new consumer habits, right? New consumer changes. So I was thinking that now with the advent of these new practices, if I'm an in-store store that have a physical presence, do you see this as a stronger integration between their website and their in-store becoming an absolute must for their business success?
Yeah, without a doubt. And as you mentioned, the consumer is the driver of all this change. A store just can't plant their flag at the local strip center and hope that people show up. In order to sell in today's market, you have to have a multi-pronged or multi-channel approach. And as you mentioned, tools like Shopify, they experienced that growth because they pivoted themselves. They were all about shipping physical products from a warehouse to somebody's home address, and they quickly pivoted to help cater to those merchants that were maybe confined to a retail location and allow for whether it's curbside pickup or have that retail location become a mini distribution center and maybe handle local deliveries out of the store because those consumers weren't coming through the door anymore. So yeah, multi-channel, multi-prong technical approach to solving the problem for sure.
See, what's interesting about that is we know that the big brands put their BOPI model, buy online pickup, funny little acronym, but larger brands like Sephora, for example, has a mobile app that works both in-store and out of store. But you're saying now that this is actually moving down market to the small businesses too.
Yeah, without a doubt. The technology that's available today, a small store, online shop owner or e-commerce store owner can mimic the big guys. Now, that doesn't mean that they need to go out and have their own app, but there are apps that help almost mimic a similar experience. There's the new Shop app that came out last year that regardless of where you make your online purchase, the integration of the Shop app, it stores the consumer's information, both credit card and shipping address, billing address, and then it notifies the consumer of where their product is in the shipping process, or whether it's still in the warehouse, whether it's on a truck, out for delivery, and when that delivery is coming. So you may make a purchase off of somebody's Shopify site, maybe somebody else, you're buying something on another site, maybe Best Buy or even Amazon, and that Shop app will help the consumer better understand where their product is, which helps cut down on customer service issues, right? What's the number one customer service issue? Where's my stuff, right? Where's my product? So there are tools out there that a small guy can mimic the big guy without going to great expense.
Now, big guys such as Amazon, have you heard of that business? They're a really great e-commerce online company. They've done amazing. But what's interesting is that we now have become accustomed to Amazon's experience being almost magical. But it seems like with these new tools, there's a movement in the industry to almost, for lack of a better phrase, democratize some of these tools so that small businesses can take advantage of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the reasons why I'm in e-commerce is because of it's somewhat of a level playing field. A lot of folks say, oh, I don't have money, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. But really, I mean, the tools are out there to help compensate for wherever you might be lacking. Let's exploit the areas where you're really good. And there are tools and tricks and strategies, and whether that be content or software or referral programs, or you name it, man, there's just nobody is left out of this game, in my opinion, and nobody should be left out.
Wonderful. Well, you know what, that is great. I'm going to actually follow that on with some specific stuff. So if I've got a hybrid commerce, what are some of the new tools that they should be aware of and be thinking about?
There's a few things going on today. Again, back to that consumer behavior. You really, really, really have to nail the basics, just like anything in our lives, right? Whether we're an athlete, you and I are swimmers, you really have to have the basic swimming techniques and some of the skill sets down. You don't necessarily have to be the strongest, but you have to have some efficiencies. So you're not going to go out and swim. In our area, you and I like to swim the cove, or swim to the shores and do a two or 3 mile. Did I lose you? Swim right out of the gate. So the same thing applies for an e-commerce store. apologize if you can't hear me. I don't know what happened there. You can hear me now? Okay. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, no, nailing the basics.
Phil, I can't hear you.
The basic infrastructure in
Yes.
place, so the consumer experience is flawless. And before you can move on to adding layers of complexity in new apps to help cater to whatever new situation you might be in, you refer to as a hybrid or a multi-channel, whether that be curbside pickup or you have a new way of selling something. The consumer is after consistency, familiarity, and quality. So some of the tools that help drive that, believe it or not, are centered around the checkout process, right? No, we all get frustrated sometimes when it takes too long. You have to enter our information multiple times. Earlier, I mentioned the Shop app that helps save it. Amazon Pay helps save your information. But one of the other great tools that's out there that's helping stores, it's actually becoming a new channel for a lot of stores, and that's the buy now, pay later payment option. Those folks offer, on even small purchases of $30, $40, it's the modern layaway plan, right? That Kmart and all the big box stores of old used to offer. Buy it today and pay over the next 4 paychecks. That has been digitized, and there's a lot of players in that space doing that really well. But the integration is so smooth and so slick, and takes a lot off the plate of the merchant, and helps drive increased sales and average order values through a simple payment application. So that's one tool I see. Another one is, a lot of folks today want to put their money with companies that have some affiliation with doing some social good, whether that's inclusion, environmental, whatever the case may be. And there's an app that I like that's out there that's really gaining a lot of traction, and it's an easy add-on to shops, and that's called the Change Commerce app. And basically, you can help direct a portion of any purchase towards a notable charity that you as the merchant can choose, or the consumer can say, look, I want a percentage of so if it's a pet shop and you want to give towards a certain, pet charity, either local or national or worldwide. So their database, they have baked in something like 1.5 million charities that you can select from and direct a portion of your sale. And that's an easy way for a merchant to do good and use the technical to do good and show the consumer that, hey, we're concerned like you are, and we have a social mission, whatever that might be or whatever might fall under. That's an easy application that doesn't really even cost anything to get started.
Boy, I love that. That is a great tip, and I hadn't heard about that, and I'd been wanting that. So it seems like it's an obvious solution to a common problem. What I love about a lot of these ideas that you said is that it takes the burden off the merchant, right? The merchant's busy working 20 hours a day, figuring out how to run their business. None of them are technical. They're not supposed to be technical because they run their business. So the tools make it easy. If I just press a couple of buttons and the things magically integrate themselves, that makes it easy for the merchant to focus on their business, not just the technology. And so 2 things that I think are really not trendy, but align with the trends that we were talking about earlier in the change of consumer habits. The buy now, pay later seems like a normal, especially if I'm Gen Z or millennial, and my paychecks aren't as large as they will be when I'm in older folk, when I'm in my 50s and 60s. So that makes it easy to buy things that I want right now. And the second thing is the good, right? What we do know is that Generation Z has expressed a desire to support businesses that align with their own social causes. 65% of Generation Z said that they will A, buy from a brand, or B, leave a brand based on those social causes and that alignment. So having these 2 items, just these 2 plugins, perfectly fit the upcoming behavior trend of Generation Z, and it's made it possible for small businesses to address that.
Yeah, really, brand can look like a big player with some simple tools that literally cost nothing to implement. And they are pay as you go. So if somebody buys with a buy now, pay later, yeah, there's a fee attached to it, but it's a success fee. And it's really not that much. In my opinion, it's a marketing fee. And then same with the ability to plug in the Change Commerce app and give the consumer the choice of where they want to direct those funds as well. So you may have an affiliation with a cause or something that's near and dear to your heart. But if the consumer says, hey, I applaud that, but maybe I'd like to apply the money to something that's near and dear to my heart, it gives you that flexibility as well.
Wonderful. That is great. So we got one question left for you, and then we have to field questions from the audience so we can wrap it up. So what is a single trend that no one's really talking about now, but you see kind of emerging on the horizon?
There's a few things. Something that I pound my fist about, and it seems to be taking place just because of the time that's evolved for some folks that have a few years now with an e-commerce store or presence, and that is owning your data and understanding your data and leveraging that data for future profits and sales or relationships. But really, I think to give a more specific example, and getting back to the buy now, pay later folks, like any business, e-commerce or not, distribution is key. And finding, going to where those customers are, right? Show up where the consumers are. So the buy now, pay later folks, some of them have developed their own marketplaces. So akin to a Walmart marketplace or an Amazon marketplace, all the retailers that accept their tool in the buy now, pay later, which in some cases, Sezzle's a company I have a lot of experience with.
Right.
They have tens of thousands of merchants that use their buy now, pay later system. So they're in turn showing their consumers and folks that maybe bought from a fashion site over here, and they're telling them, hey, you know what? We've got this other item over here that, based on our data, shows that you may have an affinity towards the products at one of our other partner stores over here.
Interesting.
So they're bringing those stores together in a marketplace and then serving them up to the folks that are on their platform and have a payment plan set up with the buy now, pay later. Again, it's another channel, doesn't really cost the consumer anything. They're reaching folks that have been vetted through data as likely customers, and again, they didn't have to spend a lot and try and figure out through Facebook or Google or other methods, hey, is this a customer for me? And knock on their door, spend a lot of money trying to find them. These marketplaces are going on in the background and serving up traffic and customers to smaller retailers.
Well, and what I think is so interesting about this is that it's almost like, and I might be wrong, but I think that's right, is that almost like these businesses are trying to help each other out. It's almost like suddenly there's this network where, Sezzle can help this merchant out by buy now, pay later. Oh, and by the way, I can connect you to that kind of business. There's another business that I've spoken with where they want to actually help connect social causes to other merchants so that might not be aware of. And it's almost like the ecosystem is trying to take care of itself and make all of the businesses thrive and flourish.
Yeah, back to your point about democratization of it, right? And it is a unique industry, and it starts at the top with any organization, even though this is a loose one. Shopify is a big proponent of the more the merrier.
Right.
The media likes to pit them against Amazon, and but they say, you know what, we work together. It's more the merrier. We're talking about a tremendous growth opportunity and great way for a small business to carve out a niche for themselves and make some money and have a career and support their family and their employees. And the more the merrier. It's not a zero-sum game at all.
That's it. Well, I think Phil, that also I think that plays well with the new generation of workers, right? A more abundance mentality where you want other people to be successful instead of a scarcity mentality where you're really competing and trying to grab dollars from somebody else, right? I do think that generationally is a business model and a business ethos that we're going to see moving forward. And I think, like you'd meant, the democratization of the e-commerce industry where everybody can play in the game, hopefully that helps everyone.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. I love that positive, right? It's so uplifting, right? It gives us hope. Gives us hope.
Everybody has
Hey,
a chance.
Johnny, we're about 20 minutes in. Now it's time for some questions from the audience. We have any?
Guys, great discussion. Good job. There are some questions coming through. You guys really stirred the pot today, which is a good thing. We started a little bit late, and so we'll add a little extra time on here so we can ask a couple. I think we've got time for at least 2 questions. Let's see how it goes. First one coming out of the box here. I'm attending from Europe. We deal with SSMM to point customers to a landing page. If I want to implement this in the US, how can I manage my logistics and enforcement from here, which probably means from Europe, without opening my own US-based company?
Oh, that's a tough one. I apologize, but that might be over my head. Chris, if you have any thoughts on that.
Sorry, Phil. I was like, thank goodness Phil's here to answer that question. Oh, look, we're not the technical guys, but here's what we do know. We do know that GDRP is a real thing, and we know that that's for some U.S. businesses, that's a block for international access. We know that CCPA, the California Consumer Protection Act, they're tight. So I guess, John, to answer the question, well, I don't think we have the technical skills to answer that question. We would say do your research. Mrs. Google is very smart. She knows a lot of stuff. Ask her first. Go ahead.
Yeah, and one other thought on that is payments. There can be payment barriers based on location. Some of the payment acceptance companies require a physical presence in the country where you're doing business. Obviously, others don't, the PayPals and some others, but there are some limits based on payments, where it's coming from, and where the company is domiciled.
All right, I got to tell you, for 2 guys that immediately said they knew nothing about the topic, that was a hell of an answer. All right, next question that came through the door here. Shoppers often use marketplaces for shopping, think Amazon or Walmart, versus multiple individual e-commerce sites. Problem for the marketer doesn't own the data when using these platforms. How can we as marketers entice shoppers to use our own e-commerce sites? And Phil, I think this really plays off your last point.
Yeah, absolutely. Own your data. Do things on your own website that maybe aren't taking place on Amazon or the Walmart marketplace or Etsy or wherever you might be. And that is create bundles of other products, or vice versa, only have a limited run of products on those other outside marketplaces so people can discover your product. Maybe on Amazon, that maybe they find 1 or 2 items there and they get turned on to your brand, and you're able to lure them to your site. Whether you know it or not, Amazon and Walmart frown upon any blatant marketing you might do to folks that receive a package from you through their marketplaces, so be careful because you don't want to get shut out for trying to drive people to your website. But email lists is the simplest way to grab people. Social media channels and getting folks, incentivizing them to join your list, doing content that might be unique that you can't share on Amazon or Walmart because they just don't necessarily offer that. So blog content or video content demonstrating your product, showing people using your product, so user-generated content is a great way around that. Ask your customers, send us a photo, send us a video of you using the product, or ideas for uses that we didn't think of. And again, social media is a great way to exploit that.
Great answer. Great answer.
All right, I think we got time for one more. Let's have a little bit of fun here. Okay, so with so many shopping platforms to choose from, such as Shopify, Magento, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, are there advantages and or disadvantages when considering the shopping platform that's best for a small tier to mid-tier D2C business?
That's a great question. If you're already established, migrating from one platform to another can be hard, and I've never seen them go 100% smoothly, so I can see the hesitation in doing that. But for me, it boils down to more than just cost. It has to do with the ability to add functionality through apps. And the reason that Shopify at the top of this program, that Chris pointed out the growth that Shopify has been able to enjoy, a lot of it has to do with their ecosystem of apps that play well with their product and are easy to implement and integrate. A lot of those products have everything to do with increasing sales, and that can be done through conversions or other methods, and enhancing and making that product better. From my viewpoint, while a lot of those other platforms are very good, they are limited in their ease of integration to other apps that help drive a better customer experience.
Chris, anything to add? Or
No, I think that Phil's, like I said, he's got his finger on the pulse of this stuff. I think that the only thing that I might add from a strategic perspective is a vision of your company, and what that might look like 3 to 5 years from now, right? And that kind of helps you decide or if you're going to stay in the same revenue range and scope, or if you really are looking to grow, making sure that the platform you use is going to grow with you.
All right. Great.
you know what, guys, we're a little tight on time, so I want to put a wrap on this one. There are an extra question or two. What I'll probably do is take those extra questions, send them off to you guys, and then you guys can answer them. Perfect. And hopefully get back to this individual.
Yeah.
All righty, well, I'm going to pop back on screen here so you can see my smiling mug one last time. Join the guys. Gentlemen, excellent job. So much fun. I learned a ton today. You guys are both a fountain of knowledge, and I love it. So thank you so much for that. I hope the folks here visiting us today also learned as much as I did and feel so good about it. So what I'd like to do is take a moment to, well, invite you guys all to the next Take 20, which happens to be March 31st at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about data and industry metrics. That'll be episode 1 of a 2-part series. If you want to learn more about all the series that are coming up or watch any of the past episodes of the Take 20, simply visit thepdmi.com/take-20. I'll repeat that, thepdmi.com/take-20, and you can check out all the past Take 20s and find out what's coming up in the near future. Again, thanks to everyone for joining us. Thanks to Phil, thanks to Chris. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, and all the best.
Thank you, John. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming.